Hello everyone. Today I'm here to present my informative speech on topic lead and its hazards. Today my purpose is to inform my audience about one of the most undiscussed health hazards, topic lead. So until 1978, lead paint was commonly used on the interiors and exteriors of homes to prevent them from corrosion. Though it is banned today, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development says that about 38 million of homes still contains some lead paint, and among them, some 24 million of the house still contain the lead-based paint hazards. Why you should listen in? Because lead is a highly toxic substance, and its exposure can produce a wide range of adverse health effects, both in adults and children. People often ignore a peeling paint in their homes, but what about the lead hazard associated with that? Today I'll be discussing lead and some of its facts. Second, I will inform you about sources and risk of lead, and thirdly about exposure prevention. So this is my objective. Lead. Lead is a heavy, low melting bluish gray metals that occurs naturally in earth crust. And it is resistant to corrosion, as I said, which means not easily attacked by air or water, which is why it is mainly used in the paints and the pottery and the toys. Also, this lead is used as pigments in paints, dyes, and ceramic glazes, and in chalk around the world due to their property of resistant to corrosion. So it is a naturally occurring element. Why should it be harmful? It's because it is a neurotoxin that accumulates in soft tissues and bones, which damages the nervous system and causes blood disorders. These are some of the facts. Until 1978, lead paint was commonly used on the interiors and exteriors of homes. Lead paint was banned for use in gasoline for motor vehicles starting January 1st, 1996. According to HUD, even today, 25% of the nation's housing stock, some 24 million, have some lead-based hazards. Even today, even though it is banned, still lead is mined in the United States, primarily in Alaska and Missouri. Now that I have discussed the lead, I'll now discuss the sources and risk. So, as you can see the picture, the sources includes like peeling paints, from the airborne lead from factories and industries, lead from the soil that comes from mining, smelting, lead soldered cans, lead from the toys, lead glazed pottery, and lead in water faucets. All of these are the sources of lead. So, lead level of concern would be 5 microgram per deciliter in blood. It is a naturally occurring element, which means exposure is so common to occur within the natural environment. Much of our lead exposure comes from all these sources, and with the use of fossil fuels like gasoline, let's say some industrial facilities uses it, and also even though you may not be using lead, but when you go out and the factories were using lead and you stepped on the soil and you bring it to the house, and that is how even it gets spread. Now some of the effects of lead would be both in adults and in children. As you can see, it has memory loss, lack of concentration, headache, irritation, depression in brain, constipation, nausea, and poor appetite in digestive system. Nervous system damage would be numbness and pain in the extremities. It would cause a generalized fatigue, abnormal functions and damage in kidneys, high blood pressure, and in children. On the other side, in children, you can see the behavior problems, lower IQ, and decreased bone and muscle growth, nervous system damage, anemia. All the generalized effects are, if it's really severe and the exposure is really massive, then it could lead to lead poisoning and even to death. So now that we have discussed the effects, let's discuss how it can be prevented. There are certain ways, like keeping the paint in good shape and working safely, cleaning up if anyone paints or repairs, making sure there is no peeled paint, especially if houses are built before 1978, because before 1978 lead was commonly used in the paints. checking the water pipes or faucets for lead, and avoid eating in any colorfully painted ceramic plates or drinking from any ceramic cups, or watching where children play and keeping the surrounding lead free. Why we should mainly focus on children? It's because children have this low immunity, which means they are more vulnerable than adults, which means if, let's say, adults have only 10% exposure, it might not affect them, but the same 10% could affect the children. So despite the risky hazard, it could still be prevented. So what do the lead-free certification marks look like? How do you know if the paints don't have lead or the faucets don't have lead in them? So these are some of the pictures. They would look like something like this if they don't contain leads. There are others too. You can find them in the HUD website and or the EPA website. There are tons of such marks. Hence today I discussed about lead and some of its facts. Secondly, I discussed the sources and risk of lead. Thirdly, I discussed about lead exposure prevention. Now remember, in conclusion, lead exposure and its hazard is one of the most neglected health hazards that has been silently affecting the health of many people. You might think you are drinking safe water from your faucet, but then it is lead painted. Or you might think, oh, your house is safe, but then you have some peeling paints that contain some lead. Hence, prevention is better than cure. So, yep, get the lead out. Thank you. And some of the references that I used for today.